what is good in our life.
Yeah.
Bill?
Also echoing the words of Frank DeFord, who just spoke 15 minutes ago on CNN about trying to encourage people to go back to their lives as normal or as close to normal as they can. The mayor even suggesting people should go out and spend money if indeed that is what makes them happy. You know, while we're listening to the mayor, Paula, a number of people down here, officials, are passing out these paper gas masks here to a number of members of the media. There's probably about 100 of us gathered here. In addition to that, as I look around up the street here on Greenwich Street, I see several hundred civilians too. They're getting them as well. The word we get from the state police here is that a generator may be blown sometime very soon, just about 2 blocks from here inside the former World Trade Center. If that generator blows, they say indeed some toxic fumes may be released into the air. Again, that's the word we're getting from the state police here. The other thing I want to point out as we watch that is if our viewers see that steam and smoke still rising from the debris here, a lot of that smoke, there's some small fires that still pop up from time to time. They have to contend with those, but the steam you see, we are being told that that steel that burned on Tuesday exceeded 1,000 degrees at some points. And again, when the water goes on those at this point, they have a lot of trapped heat, and that steam comes up from the rubble here. We saw several hundred firefighters also march in about 20 minutes ago, Paula. It's possible they may go to attend this situation here with the generator, but we'll watch that. But again, we're told at this time to put these on, and we will follow their orders. Paula, back to you.
Well, you better put that on right now, Bill, and if you have to do your next report with it on, we will understand. Right now, we're going to check in with William Gavin, who is at one time was the deputy director of the FBI. He has been involved in a number of terrorist investigations, and he's going to lend us some of his skill here this morning. Welcome. Good to have you with us, sir.
Good morning.
What did you learn from the World Trade Center bombing in '93 that might assist investigators in their investigation today?
I think that the one thing that we learned was that you must pay close attention in the investigative phase of this case. You have to pay close attention to every single detail, every piece of evidence, every statement that's made, everything that somebody might have heard, every suspicion they might have had. All of these things are woven together to help us solve this case, and that's probably one of the primary things. The other thing is the resiliency of the people of not only of New York City, but of the people of the United States. We will go on, but we will resolve this matter.
I think your thoughts are seconded by many folks across America. Let's get back to the investigation for a moment. Based on what you're hearing that the FBI has confirmed, do you believe, as President Bush told us yesterday, that indeed Osama bin Laden is the prime suspect?
Well, I think there's no doubt about that. That's something that I've believed since 9/11, that he was in fact the prime subject in this horrific act that was committed against the humanity, not just the American people, but against humanity. I don't think there's any doubt. The sights, the sounds, the smells, his ability to weave together this intricate web of treachery all points to Osama bin Laden.
And you were talking about the need to pay such close attention to every single detail, to every single statement that has been made. When you think back to your first World Trade Center investigation, how were you able to trace the men you did and their followers to the bombing?
Well, it started out in terms of that piece of metal that had the serial number stamped in it from the Ryder rental truck. That piece of metal that was found. I'm sorry.
Sorry, Mr. Gavin. I know there have been a number of interruptions. I'm really sorry to interrupt your flow of thought.
That's okay.
You carry on with how your investigation led you to Mr. Youssef.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. The problem was there when we first found the identification number stamped in the rail of the Ryder truck, tracing it from the manufacturer to the first buyer to the renter, all the way back to Jersey City to Mohammed Salameh, who had rented that truck. That triggered a huge investigative effort determining who Mohammed Salameh was, and quite frankly, he was very helpful in this case because he showed up in Jersey City to pick up a deposit for that truck that he had reported stolen, knowing full well that he had filled it full of explosives and tried to blow up the World Trade Center.
I wanted you to provide some perspective on a debate that's raging now and then will continue to rage in the days to come, and that is the debate about how much leverage the United States really has if they can prove that Osama bin Laden did this to in any way target him. Senator Schumer was a guest earlier this morning, and he said he believes that some of the restrictions that law enforcement agencies had to operate with might be relaxed. Is that what it will take to stop this man, if in fact he is the prime suspect?
Well, there's a couple of things here. I believe, number one, the country must go on to do what they have to do in order to catch him. But in order to stop him, in order to stop future terrorist acts by whomever that may want to accomplish them, we do have to take those handcuffs off just a bit in order to help us get what needs to be done. I say us meaning law enforcement. I keep reverting back to the past. But in order to get what we need done, we have to take those handcuffs off and give law enforcement and intelligence agencies a bit more flexibility in getting the job done.
Gavin, thank you again for your participation today. I apologize for the number of interruptions, but as you well know, we are constantly being given new information, and we want to get it on the air as soon as possible. Appreciate your time this morning. Thank you.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure.
All right, now we're going to go back to the Washington Bureau again, where Bob Novak is joining us with Novak, Hunt, and Shields, and the rest of the team. Good morning, Bob. How are you this morning?
Thank you, Paula. I'm Robert Novak. Al Hunt and I will question one of the Defense Secretary's top advisors.
He is the chairman of the U.S. Defense Policy Board, Richard Pearl. Mr. Pearl, thank you for being with us. Secretary of State Colin Powell has said that we are going to assemble the widest possible coalition, including many Arab states, in this war against terrorism. Is that doable and a good idea?
Yes, I think it's doable. Let me say at the outset that I'm speaking only for myself. The Policy Board has not met on this subject, so anything you hear from me today is my own view. The key thing is to assemble the widest effective coalition. And sometimes there is a difference between breadth and depth. What we want in a coalition are those countries that are truly beside us in combating international terrorism. And to try to bring in those who are in fact part of the problem rather than the solution in order to widen it, I think would be a great mistake. We need people who are solid and reliable.
So who should we not bring in? Should we not bring in Iran? Should we not bring in Pakistan? Tell me who we should not bring in.
It would be crazy to bring in Iran, which is which is involved in terrorism, or Iraq, which is involved in terrorism. And frankly, I think it's unwise to attempt to bring in Yasser Arafat, who has not only a history as a terrorist, but has been letting go the very sorts of suicide bombers and others that are behind these international acts of terror.
You mentioned Iraq. Vice President Cheney said on Meet the Press that our information is Iraq was not behind this latest incident. But should a primary goal of the war on terrorism be to topple Saddam Hussein?
Yes, I think so. There's no question Saddam has been involved in acts of terror. He gives support to terrorists and harbors them. They have safe passage in his country. They're permitted to operate there freely as long as he is around. With his desire for vengeance, he will be supporting international terrorism. And we need to take this fight to the countries that harbor terrorists. Chasing individual terrorists is not the way to solve this problem.
So Mr. Pearl, you're proposing that we go after...
All right, hate to have to do this to you, gentlemen, but I got to break into your show to bring you some statements by Attorney General John Ashcroft, who now joins us from Camp David. I'm actually looking at this shot, and I don't think he has appeared at that table yet, but I'm told he has walked into the room and will be making a statement shortly. There's the microphone he will be addressing. A little hubbub of activity preceding the Attorney General's arrival. Let's listen.
It's a resonant podium. During this past week, we've been dealing with the impact of an assault on the United States and civilized people of the world that has come from a pervasive and substantial terrorist network. It's a matter of the compound nature of the tragedy to understand that nations from Argentina to Zimbabwe, from A to Z, have lost hundreds of citizens in this tragedy. It illustrates for us that terrorism is the enemy of human civilization. Our effort is to develop all the information we can about terrorism, the terrorists and the terrorist networks that have inflicted this injury on the United States and this assault upon the people of the world, and to do everything we can to disrupt them and to put an end to their capacity. They have declared war on the United States with an act of war, and the President has very carefully noted that we consider it a responsibility to do everything within our power to those interests that threaten the United States and its interests to end their capacity to do so. Obviously, among the organizations that have that capacity and have previously been involved in assaults against the United States and its interests is the network of Osama bin Laden and his network. It is important to note that in recent months and years, a variety of terrorist organizations have cooperated in networking together, and that terrorism is an enemy to civilized people. We will be doing everything we can. We have launched the largest single investigation in the history of the United States. We have 4,000 active FBI agents pursuing a wide variety of tips and understandings and questions. We'll get to the bottom of this circumstance, but we'll also develop an understanding of how we can prevent further episodes, assaults on America and our people. It's clear to me that we need to upgrade and strengthen a number of laws in the United States. The Congress has very appropriately expressed its thorough willingness to provide for the President the resources that are appropriate in terms of finances to conduct this effort, and I believe they will cooperate to provide the enhanced law enforcement resources by way of authority. Let me indicate a few of the matters that I believe will be in a package that we will carry to the Hill, and ask members of the Congress to assist us in this effort by enacting authorizing legislation. I might add that I expect to be involved with members of the Congress on the Hill this afternoon in discussing these issues. In terms of upgrading and strengthening our capacity, let me say that we need to make sure that we have assigned a high priority to the fight against terrorism. There are areas of our laws and procedures which give us better tools against organized crime, against illegal gambling, for example, than we have against terrorists. We need to make sure that we provide the maximum capacity against terrorists in the United States. We need, for instance, to make it, to elevate the penalties for those who would harbor or assist terrorists to at least the same level as the penalties for those who would harbor or assist those who have been involved in espionage. And there are areas in which we need to just expand our capacity to surveil those involved in terrorist activities. Telephone surveillance has been limited historically to specific telephones rather than to people, so that if the telephone number changes out of its home area, or if a person ceases using one telephone and begins to use another telephone, we have to go back to court to get new authority. Now, most Americans, we all understand that you can buy disposable telephones now, use them for a limited period of time, and throw them away. And it's